everyone, Michelle here. Welcome to the Iron Orchid Designs page. So I have a mirror makeover for today, and I've hopefully set it up into different stages. It's a huge mirror, really super ugly, that I got from an estate sale, about 36 inches big, and there it is there in different stages. And here's my idea. I'm going to be using the Birdsong Mould today, just one little piece of it, maybe two in one of the corners. And then we're going to be using the Rose Chintz, which is under my stand here, the Rose Chintz Paint Inlay on it. And I'm going to just play with how to combine those, and it's going to be very layered, although we will only get to a couple of the layers today, but I'm picturing kind of worn and chippy with a little bit of brown shading and gold leafing and all that good stuff to make it look really aged. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, I already floured this. You can cornstarch or flour. And I've got my IOD Air Dry Clay, and it was in my baggie. So this I haven't touched for maybe 10 days, and it's still nice and soft. There we go. Alrighty, so I am just taking off the back. I'm going to put this back over in my bag. Do you know what? When I was figuring this out, I don't think I want that one, and the reason why is because I want this facing in. And here's one of the things that I always forget. When you're casting, or even on the paint inlays that I'm going to show you, you have to remember that it's going to come off in the reverse. So I'm actually going to do this guy. All right, I'm just going to put my glue right on here. The glue that I'm using, and I already have out, is the Tite Bond Quick and Thick. So I'm pushing down gently and then in so I don't get as much cracking. And then also this is a good place where you can go ahead and kind of shape or bend, whatever. So I'm just going to push it around the edges and make sure to pick up all the extra here. Okay, so when you first get your inlay, for those of you who haven't seen this before, there are 3 available now. This one is called Rose Chintz. And there are 8 sheets, and they all will line up to make a continuous pattern. When you get them, the first thing you need to do is I use a cutting mat and a ruler, and you need to take your cutting tool and cut off these edges that are all around. See those edges? You don't want those on, because if you leave them on, which I did on the very first project I did, I forgot or thought I could fudge it, you're going to get seam lines. So if you're doing a piece of furniture, you want this to match up so it looks like you hand painted all of this, and it will if you get rid of these and you're careful. Okay, so I've already done that with these two. See how it looks different with these sheets? So the 2 sheets, and there's a picture on the back that'll show you how to line them up. So when you have the extra taken off, you line them up just like this. You can see where they go together. And also I'm a very visual person, so this, for me, it took me a long time to figure out how to lay out the 8 sheets, because after a while it all looks the same, but I promise you that it works. And then, this is my big tip. This is going to really help you. Before you start figuring out where you're going to cut this or where it needs to go, unless you're just doing one big square, take your sheets like this. This is the top, this is the paint, this is what you want to be attaching to your piece. Do yourself a favor and do this. Okay, you can still see through them, but this is how I am now going to cut it and put it on my furniture. Okay, here, now this is the top of the mirror. I've already cut my pieces just the way I just showed you. I had them face down, and I cut these so that they will continue here. The other thing that I do is I especially on a piece of furniture. I don't like to have half. This is going to continue with the other one, but normally if this was like on in the middle, I don't like to have half pieces, so I would maybe cut that out. And that leads me to something else that we're going to do around the birds is we can go to some of these after, and to build around the birds, we can just cut out a little one and tuck it in to make it all fit and look like you don't have to worry about the pattern, I guess. We're going to start over here on this corner. All right, I am using a clay chalk paint and in like an off-white, a vintage linen color. And your paint is going to need to be wet. So these are all cut and I've got the next 3 pieces laid out, okay? It's okay if I go a little over actually because I'm going to continue. But normally you really just want to paint the part that you're currently doing because you want your paint to be wet. All right, so I'm pattern side down and I'm going to put this right down here in my corner. And I'm going to gently put it in and then I'm going to push it in a second, but I want to get some wrinkles. So I'm going to just gently kind of push to get a few wrinkles. If I leave this like this, or let's say I was on a flat piece and all over here, like this part right here, there's nothing there at all, it's going to look different because it's not going to have the same texture or the same look as when it had paper on it and the paper's lifting. So I take my extra paper and I use it the same. It doesn't have a pattern on it, but it's going to give that same effect. So it's going to continue that same texture and that same look on my areas that don't have the inlay on them. I'm putting it right on the edge, on the end of my mirror here. All right, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to dampen my paper. I'm going to mist it. Let's see, that wasn't much water at all. There's hardly any coming out of there. And I am going to use my brayer. This is a perfect tool for this. Press all of this in. So I'm making sure that my pigment has good contact with my paint now. Hopefully you can see that the bubbles, any sort of bubbles or air that I had in there are going away. All right, and then this is gonna sit and dry. Now, depending on the paint that you're using, I've left mine overnight, but you can tell when it's dry because, I'll show you in a minute, the paper is going to lighten up. So this is the paper that I did about an hour ago and it is dry, okay? It's crunchy, it's a different color, it feels completely different, it is dry. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my mister again. I want to dampen the paper so that it will loosen up the paper fibers because we're going to peel the paper off. So that's what the point of this is. You really should have a misting bottle and not like a heavy spray. If you don't have a misting bottle, you also can dampen some paper towels and wring them out really well. I mean, I don't want the water to pool or anything, but I want to be able to lift the paper without having those paper fibers sticking on there. All right, here we go. And then I'm gonna save these because these you can use again and they make just really pretty second projects. All right, now, big difference, it's coming off easily. So I am just going to peel back like this. Okay, now this you can see, do you see how it kind of, it's a little lighter, what I have left on on my paper, and it's got some of that white paint on it. I am going to lay this aside flat, and when it's dry, and put this over a dark color so that it transfers some of the white, and it is going to be amazing. The texture, can you see that? Do you see where I put the intentional wrinkles in? And that's where you can see your underneath color. So you can do multiple colors or you can just do one solid color. I think that would look really cool with like wood beneath it, except this was not a pretty color wood. I have some pieces that are left from the top pattern. And my idea for working around this part is that I'm just gonna cut a few of the flowers and place them in there. I don't wanna get these super wet. So I'm gonna have to be careful when it comes time for the paper release. You have to be really gentle around your clay. So gently brushing around your clay when it's wet will also help it to not shrink as much. People are always asking about that. Let's see what else I've cut out here. These probably are going to all be going in different directions. I didn't think of that, but I think that's okay. All right. I'm just rolling with the punches here. I think that I'm going to take a little bit of my Starbucks water. I'm gonna wet this all with a brush instead of squirting because I can control where it's going. So this is just water, you guys. And I wanna make sure the paper's wet, but just the paper. I'm trying to stay away from the clay. And then I'm going to just take pieces of my empty paper and put them right over the top of this. So when my inlays are dry, we're back over here on this side where we took the paper off. And then because this was a continuing pattern across the top here, I'm just gonna fill in the gap here like I did over there by just putting some, a couple of flowers there, and you won't notice that I broke the pattern anywhere. So when this is dry, which this is dry, you have some choices. That was already on my fingers. Okay, so this is dry. I don't want it to be this bright. So what I'm gonna end up doing is distressing this lightly with a high grit sandpaper. That's gonna be my next step. However, if I sand this right now, then these colors in here on the inlay are gonna run into my background color. I've done that before by accident and on purpose, but I don't want to do that with this. So if you do not want your inlay to smudge, then you need to seal it at this point, but it needs to be spray sealed. So I can do a couple different things. Say I want smudgy, I can sand it right now and then brush my sealer on because I don't care if this color smudges. If I don't want smudges and I want to distress, or if I don't want smudges and I want to top coat this next without even distressing, it needs to be sealed with something, a spray sealer, okay? The spray sealer is going to encapsulate all of this pigment so that if you brush on a sealer or if I brush on my sandpaper, it doesn't smudge the colors. So you can use like an aerosol, or what I've been using is this is just a mist bottle, and it has half and half. TC stands for top coat and water. Okay, let's make sure. So here's what I'm gonna do. All right, so it's shaken up. I do leave this like this. I haven't had any problems. I make sure that this nozzle is clean. Now when this dries, I'm gonna come back and sand this, and it should all stay in place but lighten up my pigments. All right, guys, thank you so much. Have an awesome day. Don't be afraid of the paint inlays. Please go to the tribe and look at other projects and share your projects and have fun with them because they are a lot of fun. Have an awesome week, guys. Bye-bye.